What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Tripple Rich, and I'm back like I left my wallet at your house. Today we're going to talk about the Reebok Instapump Fury. Did you know that this shoe has a collab with Jackie Chan? And did you know that components on the shoe are inspired by the inflatable vest that you see on a plane? I bet you didn't. Last fun fact before we really get into it. Did you know that Reebok and Adidas came out with a collaboration of the shoe that used Adidas Boost, and it both had Reebok and Adidas branding on it? Crazy shoe, crazy stories. I can't wait to get into it. So let's go! In 1994, the Reebok Instapump Fury made its debut. It was originally designed by Steven Smith. You might have heard of that name before because he has definitely put his thumbprint all over the sneaker world. He's worked for Adidas, New Balance, Nike, Reebok, and honestly, the list goes on. Some shoes you might be familiar with are the New Balance 997. He had a hand in creating that. Maybe the Shock Stunner or the Air Max 09. He had a hand in that. Or maybe you're familiar with the brand Yeezy. Kanye West appointed him as the head industrial designer for Yeezy since 2016, and he's responsible for bringing some of your favorite designs to life, like the Wave Runner and the Foam Runner. This shoe was polarizing for so many reasons. The design is crazy on its own. Some people call it ugly, some people call it beautiful. There's actually a famous quote by Paul Litchfield, one of the head people in the marketing and design for the debut of the shoe. And he basically said, if you put this shoe on any wall, 50 people are going to come up to it and say it's beautiful and say it's cool and what's that. 50 other people are going to come up to it and talk about how it's the ugliest shoe they've ever seen. But 100 people in total will have noticed the shoe. And that's what's so interesting about it, right? It's a neck-breaking shoe. It's interesting. If you've never seen it, you won't forget it. The most interesting part about the shoe is the pump. Because in 1988, the pump technology debuted. And it was specifically for basketball shoes as well as tennis shoes. This shoe came out in 1994, so they were about 6 years into the project at that time. And the designer Steve Smith said, hey, why are we still making shoes that we put the pump in at the very last moment? Basically, they were putting the pump in the tongue for all the previous models. He said, why don't we make the pump a part of the shoe? Make it the shoe. So that's where this design came from. They call these bladders. And I find that very interesting why they name it that. During my research, I found about 3 different inspirations that came to mind when creating the pump technology on the shoe. The first one, like we mentioned, the air flight cabin inflatable vests. You definitely get that sense, especially when you see the shoe in the brighter colors. It just reminds me of an air flight vest. The second place I saw that they got their inspiration was visiting a medical device convention. They saw a mini electric pump that really got their minds going and really helped them to keep pushing forward with this idea. Once they started the project, they actually consulted a inflatable mountain bike tire company, and those people who they consulted with helped them come up with the pressure valve and a couple other technicalities that came with putting the pump on the shoe. Another interesting thing about the shoe is, anybody out there a Jordan 11 fan? I know, most people love 11s, as do I. This might be familiar. It's a carbon shank, and this one's actually a little bit more visible than what you might see on a Jordan 11. Also use something called Hexalite cushioning, which it was so light that at the time it cut this shoe by 1/3 of the weight that they expected it to. And at the beginning of its debut, this was one of the lightest shoes on the market. Aside from the shape, some of the things that piece the shoe together, what I found most interesting was the debut color of this Reebok Instapump Fury. It was a neon yellow with like red and black accents. The name of the colorway is Citron. What I found so interesting about that color is one, it's in your face, it's loud, on top of an already unique and extremely off the cuff design. But what was also interesting about the color was that one, it was actually inspired by a New Balance shoe called the New Balance Supercomp. The bright color was not immediately received by the marketing team. The marketing team wanted a more conservative color. They figured it would be an easier sell. Well, Steven Smith and the rest of the design team stuck to their guns and they put out this bright colored Reebok Classic, as well as a muted Reebok Instapump Fury, right? Well, the loud color that they chose outsold the muted color 2-1. So, they made their point, and I'm glad they kept with it. I actually would love to get a pair of the OG color because it's just so extreme. This shoe is not meant for everybody, but somehow it became a cult shoe in Asia. I would almost venture, well, actually, from the research, most people are venturing to say that the Jackie Chan collab, most people think that's one of the biggest reasons why this shoe got so embraced by Asia and all the Asian markets. Personally, I've always felt that Asia has a large affinity with fashion. And besides the Asian markets, the fashion markets really ate the shoe up. There was a Chanel collab, Maison Margiela. So a lot of this high fashion mixed with streetwear, I can just see why it was so readily swooped up by the Asian community. 2001, Karl Lagerfeld, at the time, was designing for Chanel. He actually had all his runway models wear the shoe. And would you know it, 2 years later, Chanel did a collab with the Reebok Instapump Fury. I would actually say the collaborations might be another reason why the Asian markets ate it up, because they did actually have anime-inspired collaborations. I know Gundam did a Reebok Instapump Fury. I know Jurassic Park did. I know Minions did. So they found a way to infiltrate the media on that side of things. It's had a great moment in pop culture. If any of you guys are Aerosmith fans, Steven Tyler, the lead singer of Aerosmith, used to wear these religiously during his performances, and it is definitely a polarizing shoe. He was wearing the bright citron and red shoe, so it was easily noticed. Interestingly enough, this shoe actually did a collab with Adidas in 2019. And for this collab, they made the midsole Adidas Boost material. And then what was unprecedented, I haven't seen it on any shoe before or since, is because it was a Reebok and Adidas collab, there's Reebok and Adidas branding all over the shoe. The Reebok Instapump Fury is still relevant to this day. Personally, I think the design is so futuristic that it's still ahead of its time. Either way, they are still pumping out collabs left and right of this beautiful shoe. In 2022, huge collab between Maison Margiela and the Reebok Instapump happened. This past year, 2023, a bunch of other collabs dropped, Street Fighter, to name a few. But on May 15th of last year, a neon colorway reappeared that hadn't come back since 1995. This shoe was released on National Pump Day, which is May 15th as announced by Reebok. I can tell you, I didn't know this before my research, but I definitely will be wearing some Reebok pumps this coming May 15th. Not only because I love to participate in sneaker holidays, but it's also going to be the 30th anniversary. I have two pairs. This pair that you see me holding, this is a very muted black and white pair. I like it because it's simple, but with the design being as extreme as it is, it has a good balance to me. The other pair of Instapumps that I have are these. These are a collaboration between Reebok and Sandro Paris, which is a fashion house. I always love the details on this shoe because it almost has like a iridescent pearl feel to it. And the fact that it's all black, this kind of pearly situation just really pops. It gives me almost like a black oyster feel. You know what I mean? But I'm a big fan of Furies. Personally, I like funky shoes. You know, if you can pull off this shoe, you can pull off any shoe. I would love to hear what you have to say about Reebok Instapump Furies. I think it's a super underrated shoe, and I'm just bringing attention to it because I think it deserves the attention that we're bringing to it today. So talk to me about your experiences with the Reebok Instapump Fury. I'll be here, ready to comment, ready to just go back and forth about sneakers we love. But until next time, it's your boy Tripple Rich. I'm out of here. It's a pleasure talking to you on this Kick Talk. I'm going to keep getting better, and I know you will too. So until next time, we out.
Thinking about my life like wow, how I couldn't even write this down. We don't even have to write it down. We know